Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to LoveBabz, Love Talk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. It's Tuesday in the L, and I'm over at the New Haven Independent, and apparently some neo-Nazis was trying to march on some poets. Oh, now, I don't know what the point of that is. I really don't. I feel like if you want to fight poets, then there's something seriously wrong with whatever it is you think you're doing. Poets? Are you kidding me? So you want to march with little caps on your faces and khakis on, and you want to march on Never Ending Bookstore where poets hang out. That's what you want to do? You know what? Stop calling yourselves neo-Nazis. Y'all ain't no damn neo-Nazi. What the hell are y'all doing? These little white boys from where I bet you they're not even from New Haven. I bet you they're from somewhere else. I would put money on it. I feel like if you're bad enough to want to kick a poet's ass, you should let them see you. You marching on poets? Are you kidding me? That's like marching on. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I guess because they know they would get their ass beat anywhere else. But the way that these poets showed up, it looked like the poets were going to kick their ass too. So there you go. I don't think they was expecting a crowd of poets. Listen, these modern poets are thug-like. I didn't even read the story, and it's got like 29, 30 comments. And the police intervened. Like the police came and saved these neo-Nazis because these poets was about to whoop their asses. You get your ass kicked by a poet. And no shade to poets, but I never think about poets as beating nobody's ass. And that's my own stereotype. I'm a poet, but I'll beat your ass. So anyway, they I don't get it. I really don't get it. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. So these people get over there, and Never Ending Bookstore. It's old as all get out. It's over there on State Street. I don't know what these little white boys thought they was doing. Oh God. That's not what we mean by diversity, white people. We don't mean that. We don't mean neo-Nazis. We don't mean that. And it's just white boys who don't got nothing to do. These little angry white boys who feel like they marginalized. I don't know why. But all right. They feel what they feel, they in their feelings. But I'm just baffled by why Never Ending Bookstore. It's a free lot, it's a free book space. And they do artistic stuff in there. I'm just trying to understand why you marching on them. There's plenty of other places. Oh, I guess you thought you get the least resistance there? That's what the thinking is? Y'all silly. You white boys are silly as hell. Just stupid. And then you're going to cover your faces. From poets? Oh my God. These neo-Nazis. Why? Don't even call yourself neo-Nazis, because that you marching on poets is ridiculous. You might as well just march on pre-K kids or something. It makes no sense to me. I don't know. Maybe they wrote a poem that made you mad. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. So and they had on khakis, so they white. White boys with khakis. It's a bad combination. And it lacks fashion sense, to tell you the truth. Oh, oh my God. So anyway, Brian Slatery has the piece up. He just posted up um, the the social media post. As you may have heard, several self-identified neo-Nazis stopped by the shop last night. Everyone is safe and there was no violence. We appreciate everyone who came out to support us and for those of you who reached out to us today. Our community is strong and resilient. All scheduled events will continue as planned. The best way to help at this time is to show up in solidarity, get to the gig. I don't get it. I don't understand these neo-Nazis. I feel like this. I'm old school. If I do some dirt, I'm gonna tell you I did the dirt. I'm not gonna put on a hood, a cape, a mask, nothing. Unless it's, pandemic times, and of course, but I just find that wild. These people are wild. So the incident, which ended without violence, yeah, because anyone that ass is kicked by no poets, occurred while Never Ending Books was hosting a show of improvised music for the New Haven-based FIM collective. We got word that these guys were on their way, said Connor Perrault, a Volume 2 board member. I heard third or fourth hand through the board members group chat. People saw them walking down the street before they got to us. They saw them headed our way. Might have should have whooped their ass and pulled a mask off them and took pictures. I'm not condoning violence. So anyway, Perrault and a couple of other board members arrived to find a crowd of people gathering, somewhere between 20 and 30 people, because they had also heard that these people were coming. Yeah, 30 poets and musicians about to beat your ass. That's what was going to happen. We waited for a long time, Perrault said, and suddenly there were 7 or 8 guys on the other side of the street wearing black masks and khakis. Yeah. I bet you they didn't come across that street because they knew they was going to get their asses kicked by musicians and poets. Ah! So the people on both sides of the street yelling at each other. Yeah, but you ain't come across that street, though. You're going to yell, but you ain't come across that street. And the people on the other side of the street from Never Ending Books started chanting and giving the Nazi salute. They also gave a chant that Perrault later learned was to signify anti-communist action. It's a it's a bookstore. I don't care. Help me understand it. The police went first to the Never Ending Books side of the street. The Never Ending Book crew gave a statement. Then the police crossed the street to talk to the neo-Nazis. They refused to talk to the officers and refused to identify themselves. And they just dispersed. What kind of foolishness? I don't get it. I'll talk more about it at the 10 o'clock hour. I have a talented guest coming on at I've got a talented guest coming on at 9:30. Victor Kakasi. He's coming on this morning at 9:30. Victor and his ensemble, Sandbox Percussions, will be at Schwartzman Center tomorrow in the Well for an album release party of Don't Look Down, a new album celebrating the long-standing collaboration between Grammy-nominated ensemble Sandbox Percussion and multi-Grammy-nominated composer Christopher Cerrone. All the members of the Sandbox Percussion and Cerrone are Yale grads. Okay, so I'm interested in hearing what kind of music they're into. And Harry, I didn't tell you to pull their music. I wish I would have. I don't know their music. Yes, I'm having a little bit of bone broth this morning. I had a little bit of a queasy stomach, so I needed to chill it a little bit. So I got a little bit of Hey, Victor, we started about 9:30. So hang out a little bit and we'll come back in at 9:30. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Great. Should I leave the Zoom call? I think I wanted to make sure I had good
I
connection.
got it. I know. So you can either log out and come back in. at like 9:30. That'll be perfect. That'd
That
be
sounds great.
good.
I'll be back at 9:30.
All right. Good
Thanks a lot.
morning.
Yeah. Talk to you then. Good morning. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody wants to make sure their equipment works. I like that. I like a guest who is concerned about. Well, he's a musician. Musicians they concern themselves about sound. So I love it. So anyway, he'll be back on in about, I don't know, 10 minutes, Harry. So I'm enjoying a little bone broth this morning because my stomach is squeezing because I'm on these new meds and I have to take them on an empty stomach. And I have to wait 2 hours before I can eat with them. So this morning I made sure I took them at like 5 o'clock this morning. But I didn't get up at 7 to eat. I didn't do that. So I'm eating now. And then I have to take the rest of the meds, in a few minutes, in a bit. But I wanted a little bone broth to settle my stomach. Start my day with a little protein. So anyway, my guest will be back on, Victor Kakase. Kakase. Don't Look Down, his new album, is a result of a decade-long journey through sound, collaboration, and innovation. From the first sketches of Gold Beater's Skin in 2015 to the final touches on Ode to Joy in 2023, the album reflects Cerrone's deep connection and friendship with Sandbox Percussion. So I love these stories when people, they all went to school together and then come together and collab and do some cool stuff. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. I'll talk about the neo-Nazi stuff at the 10:15 hour because I was just interested in it. So the neo-Nazi, and I'm reading the comments. So was it a communist group meeting at the bookstore? I thought it was musicians, but it doesn't matter if they're communist or whatever. America, you can be whatever you want. So I don't know why you would march on them. Like, these people. Man, why are you mad at them? Now people are just being mean. Like, I don't know why people have such hatred for other people. So what if it was a gathering of communists? So what? What has it got to do with you? Are you a communist? What is the fear? You think 10 communists is gonna what? Pull a January 6th? Is that what you think? So anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone until 10:15. I'll give you my peace of mind at 10:15. So anyway, I see the comments up. I see the comments up there on the New Haven Independent. So I guess it was communists and neo Nazis. So they heard that communists was meeting. I don't concern myself. Communists ain't never did me no harm. Neo Nazis, on the other hand, is problematic. That's just foolishness. You know. I tell you what, this is what I know. Did they disperse into the bookstore? Maybe if they took their mask off. Because, you take your mask off, you're just a regular person. Right? Ain't that what it is? Right? You take your mask off, you're just regular. No one knows who you are when you take your mask off. Ain't that some craziness? White people, y'all need to quit. You really need a timeout. These white people need a timeout. Nazis, communists. It's only like two communist countries in the world, Cuba and China. My God. Ah, oh, Lord have mercy. And the level of ignorance is just ridiculous. So I'll talk about it 10:15. I'm not gonna talk about it now. I'll check out some of the comments too. Like 29, 30 comments, you know. Oh, Lord have mercy. Everybody got issues. Everybody fighting somebody. Everybody fighting somebody. Fighting somebody. I don't care if they are communists. I don't. What are they doing to you? Nothing. They just meeting and playing music and reciting poetry. Woo, subversive. Woo. Meanwhile, I wish the police chief would have made them would have arrested them, just brought them downtown just because. Like you do black people. Treat them like black people. Say something. Say something. And then haul their little asses downtown. All right, that's enough. I'll leave it alone. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong about all of that. I could be very wrong. Anyway, that's the way of the world. So, anyway, my next guest is coming on, and I'm looking forward to and their album release party is a digital only album, and it's not available as a physical product. But you could go and hear them talk about it, play it, jam to it. I think tomorrow in the Well. So, and I think people will dig it. So, and these musicians are Grammy nominated people. I mean, come on, that's pretty boss. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the influences of the music is. What the purpose of the music is, what they envision the music to be, what they want it to be, all those kinds of good things. I love talking to musicians and artists. You know that. Y'all know I love talking to artists because they're the ones that give us voice to whatever ails us, to whatever celebrates us, to whatever uh, captures the moment. So I'm looking forward to it. And in the meantime, in between time, I'm here for it. So if you're up at the New Haven Independent, uh, Nora Grace Flood has a piece up on a state gun show. I believe she's in Pennsylvania. So I haven't clicked on the article, but it's fun for the whole family. White people, y'all need some therapy. I'm gonna tell you right now, some therapy. I'm taking my kids to a gun show. I don't know. Maybe you should. Maybe we all should. Maybe we should just embrace guns, firearms. Maybe we should. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is anymore. America is so out its bag these days. So out its bag. So anyway, that's the way of the world. Stranger things, my friend. Stranger things. We're expecting a little snow this afternoon into the night, I think. So there'll be a little snow. And there'll be a little snow. And nothing to write home about, nothing to get nervous about. Just I think a dusting to an inch, I guess. So, you know. Yeah. So this is winter in Connecticut. Hello, February. And this is my favorite week. This is Valentine week. Harry, I sent you a link to Joya in a text. I think you would like that place. It's got really good food. Really, really good food. So you might wanna take your wife there. I think they still have reservations available, and they have a parking lot too. So just FYI. So if you're still on the fence about what you want to do, I mean, because you're gonna go see El Coqui, which is at Southern. And I don't know, there's not any restaurants around Southern proper, you know. So you'd have to either be up by Whaley or downtown. I would bet, and I would get to Roya. I would get to Joya early, and I would get there early so that you could really linger over your meal, and then give you time to get back across town to Southern. That's it. That's my recommendation. I mean, if you're wanting to have a romantic, you know, dinner coupled with a show. And I think you'll like the show. I look forward to your thoughts on it. I think you'll dig it. It's thought provoking. And you might be able to identify with some of it. Maybe. Maybe. So that's what I would say. Um, so I'll wait for my guest. And next hour I'll talk a little bit about the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime show, which was great. Very thought provoking. I see why he got a Pulitzer. I mean, if you saw the Grammy that time, the Grammys that time where he was just badass. So the halftime show was equally magnificent, I thought, full of symbolism, you know. And the people who didn't get it, they don't get it because they don't follow history. They don't read history. They don't know anything. They know little. They know very little about the history of this country and the people in it. So that's a thing. That's a real honest to God issue, you know. And people are so conditioned to be entertained that thinking is hardcore. You know what I mean? Like thinking is just hardcore. They just don't want to do it. Lazy. People are very lazy. So anyway, Harry's gonna cue up the music. And my next guest is going to come on, and we have a wonderful conversation about his album release. I want to hear all about it, and I hope you want to hear all about it too. Listen, I love a good opportunity for music. It heals us and saves us. So anyway, here he comes. Okay, Harry, let's go. Good morning, Victor. So my producer is going to cue up some music, I think, and then we're going to get into a conversation.
That sounds good.
Ooh, good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to LoveBabz, LoveTalk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. Hey, Victor, is it Kakasi or Kakase?
It's Kachazy, actually. There's a little CH sound in there.
Oh, Kachazy. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
So you got a big album release party happening tomorrow.
Yeah, in a couple days. Yeah, we're super excited.
So tell me about this album. So I was reading up on the background information. You and your fellow Yale grad friends, musician types,
That's
Grammy
right.
award winning, multi-Grammy nominated folks got together and collaborated on an album.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So Sandbox Percussion is 4 percussionists from Yale School of Music, and we collaborating with composer Christopher Cerrone, who went to the composition department, studied composition and masters at the Yale School of Music. So we all met when we were in school at Yale. That was like 15 years ago now,
Wow.
10 or 15 years ago. And yeah, we've been collaborators and friends ever since, and now we're putting out this record together.
So tell me about the record. What's the influence of the record?
Yeah, the influence is basically just drawing from the 10 years of music that we have played together with Chris. It's a series of pieces that we have sort of helped to commission from Chris over the years, and it's been sort of just celebrating. The record is just sort of celebrating the friendship and the collaboration that we've had and the work that we've put out together in the past decade or so.
Okay, when I think percussion, I'm always thinking Sheila E. So you tell me, like, what's the vibe of the collaboration? Like, what is the sound? If I had to like put it in a Grammy category, what is the sound?
Right, right. It's pretty unique, you know. I mean, we're a percussion quartet, so it's a small ensemble, and each piece sort of highlights a lot of different kinds of sounds and instruments. I should also say that two of the pieces feature a couple guests as well. So you know, one of the pieces is called "Don't Look Down," which is actually also the title of the album. And it's a piece in three movements for sandbox and a pianist, Connor Hannock. And the piece is super unique because it incorporates lots of different percussion sounds, some maybe that you've heard before, like drums, cymbals, marimba, vibraphone, drum set. But then there's some other really interesting sounds in that piece. There's blown bottles, so there's like a pitched blown bottle. The piano is prepared in lots of different ways, so it gets a lot of really kind of eerie and different sounds out of the piano with like bowing the strings inside of the piano, preparing the piano with little bits of putty and pieces of plastic in the strings that get like really like articulate and percussive kind of sounds coming out of the piano. So a lot of different sounds there as well. So it's kind of a mixture of some things you've heard before and maybe some things you haven't heard before. And that's just Don't Look Down, but every piece sort of has its own unique sound palette.
So you all met at grad school, met at music school, and so do you work as a professional musician now? Was that the goal?
We do, yeah. That was kind of the goal. Yeah, we started in 2011, our quartet, and it was basically just something we did because we loved playing chamber music. We loved playing percussion music in sort of small ensembles like that. There was some repertoire that started being written around that time. You know, it's a pretty new kind of art form, I suppose, percussion quartet. But it was something we were really excited about, and it was sort of a growing repertoire, and we wanted to sort of be a part of that. So that was 2011, and it was, you know, us just getting together on the weekends to rehearse because we were all still in school and we were in like different cities and things like that. But little bit by little bit, it sort of grew from there. We started spending more and more time on it. We moved into a studio space in Brooklyn, New York. And it just kind of started to grow from there. But yeah, it is kind of our full-time job now.
Oh wow. So being that it's a full-time job, that means you have to tour a little bit.
We do, yeah. We were actually kind of touring right now. So I'm talking to you from a lovely hotel room in Baltimore, Maryland. We just came from Houston, Texas. Before that, we were in San Francisco, and now in a couple days we'll be going, or tomorrow we'll be going to New Haven, Connecticut. So yeah, we do tour around quite a bit.
And so how much time do you spend touring?
About half the year.
Wow. That's a lot of touring.
Yeah. We travel around quite a bit. We play our quartet probably plays like somewhere around 40 concerts a year. And we also are teaching quite a bit as well. So in a combination of traveling for performances and traveling to go to different teaching jobs and things like that.
And so Victor, when you was early introduced to music, when was that? How old were you when you were introduced to music? Like, did your parents make you take piano lessons and, you know, the xylophone, you know, all the things? Like, how did you come to music?
Yeah, you nailed it. My parents had me taking piano lessons when I was like 9 years old or something like that, 8 or 9. And none of my parents were professional musicians, but they were certainly music lovers. My dad was a really great classical pianist. So I played piano when I was young, and that was really fun. You know, I really enjoyed doing that as a kid, but it wasn't until I got into high school to where I got exposed to like different symphonic music and wind bands and marching band, and really learning about like percussion that was happening in those ensembles, and just really sort of like piqued my curiosity. It was I remember seeing those kinds of instruments and just sort of falling in love. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but it's sort of like falling in love with it, and sort of taking that on, and then sort of went down a different path and played less and less piano, and started playing more drums and mallet percussion and all different kinds of percussion, and it sort of led to studying that in school. But it was always kind of a sort of musical childhood.
And so when it was time to talk about going off to college and a career, were your parents on board with you? Like, hey, I really want to be a musician.
I yes, I was fortunate. I had really supportive parents when I was young. I think they were a little surprised though when I started explaining that I really wanted to potentially go to music school, and kind of the deal that we struck was that I would apply to the same amount of normal colleges as I would music schools. So I think I auditioned at like 7 music schools or something like that when I was
Uh-huh.
looking into colleges. And then my parents were like, okay, if you're going to audition at these 7 schools, you have to apply for 7 other schools, and get accepted somewhere else. And
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to get accepted to a couple different places, sort of normal colleges, for incoming undergrad, and then also a couple music programs where I would be sort of majoring in music, and then eventually decided that we were going to go the route of studying music, and my parents were really supportive with that.
And so so was Yale your undergrad or your grad experience?
Yale was grad school. That was my grad experience. I went to undergrad at Peabody Conservatory in
Mm.
Baltimore, which is actually where I am right now. I'm
Mhm.
doing some teaching there now, and did my undergrad at Peabody for 4 years, and then after that went to grad school at Yale in Connecticut, and that's sort of where Sandbox started. It started sort of at a cross point between Peabody and Yale. Like a few of us also went to Peabody, and we all went to Yale. So we had that sort of in common, that connection. So Sandbox started sort of crossing over between undergrad and grad school.
Mhm. And so this collaboration for this particular album, that y'all are having a release party for, and are you performing it, or we're just listening to the music? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, we're gonna perform it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, that sounds good. So, um, do you work as a musician in other genres of music? Do you know, like if somebody says, I have a jazz band, we need a percussionist, or I have some other kind of classical music thing.
Yeah.
Can you join us and support this?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, a little bit. I think that we're classically trained percussionists. So we went to school to learn how to, build a wide skill set as percussionists. Um, that being said, if we have an opportunity that comes our way that is, maybe an opportunity to play in a jazz group or an opportunity to play in an orchestra, depending on what our unique backgrounds might be, we might be interested in doing that. Like, percussion is a lot of different instruments, and it
Mhm.
exists in a lot of different genres. So some of us naturally feel more comfortable in certain areas and certain different genres than others. So if we feel like we want to take on that unique experience, we might do that as individuals. But the more and more that we work in this quartet, the more that we focus more of our time on it. It really has become sort of a full-time job. So it's sort of our number one focus. And I mean, to be frank, there's not a ton of time, to take on other gigs and other opportunities outside of sort of our percussion quartet.
Mm.
So things here and there, but certainly mostly doing this.
So in your bio, I was reading some of y'all are Grammy nominated. Does that help you? Does that open doors? Is that exciting? What is that like?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. Yeah, Sandbox is a Grammy nominated ensemble. We were nominated for an album we put out in 2021 called Seven Pillars by Andy Akiho. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I think it's probably helped us a little bit. I mean, at least in the sense that this is the Grammys are obviously a pretty big stage. So when your name is listed in that category as some of those chosen artists, it just kind of gets your name out in front of some other people that have maybe never heard it before, which is always a positive for us. You know, it's a beautiful sort of small percussion world that we exist in here, that we love. But our mission is to sort of grow the repertoire to bring more exposure to the music that we love playing. And the Grammys, of course, is a big stage, so it gets our name out in front of some more people. It gets more people listening to the kind of music that we're playing, and we always see that as a plus.
And so when you go and teach at places, are they familiar with classical percussionists? Are they familiar, or are they hoping that you'll introduce this genre to the student body?
A little bit of both. You know, sometimes we'll go teach at a school and they might have never heard what a percussion quartet is, you know, or never heard the music that we play. You know, we play on lots of really interesting instruments and things like that, objects that you wouldn't normally think of as instruments. So, you know, a lot of it is very new for people. And we do get a chance to sort of like share that with students, with audience members, patrons, things like that, and that's always really exciting. And sometimes we go to schools or to different cities, and like maybe people have heard some of the things we've done before. Maybe they heard an album that we recorded or an album that we put out, you know, like the one we're going to be putting out in a couple days. So if they have heard that before, then we get a chance to sort of connect with them on the music that we love and the music that they are now learning about. So that's fun too.
So are you always in a constant state of composing and creating music? Like, what inspires you? How does the creative juices work with y'all? Like, do you walk down the street and like, you know what? I hear the backup of a bus that's inspiring. Or do you just listen to classical music and stay in that world? Like,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that the only inspiration?
Yeah, I guess a little bit of both there as well. I mean, you know, like most of what we do is working with composers. So we, I guess, do a little bit of composing ourselves, but it's not really a main focus of ours.
Mm-hmm.
We work with people like Chris Cerrone, who is a composer, studied composition in school, got a degree from Yale School of Music in composition for grad school, and it's really like sort of like honed their craft on composition. So they really take the charge and sort of like coming up with the unique sounds, how they're going to orchestrate them together, how they're going to put them into like a form that could be like a piece of music that you experience on the concert stage. And us as percussionists are sort of catalysts for that. You know, we're taking their ideas and we're trying to then recreate them on our instruments. So the creative side for us is really sort of taking their ideas, the ideas that composers have, and making those a reality in a live concert setting. So we really, I mean, it is truly a partnership. You know, it's a collaboration between us and them. So if Chris Cerrone walks down the street and hears something off the back of a bus that he wants to turn into a piece, I'm all for it. You know, but it really is them that are kind of leading the charge in those creative ideas, those new sounds, those concepts, putting them all together, and then making them a reality on the concert stage. That's kind of our job.
So I'm always fascinated when I talk to artists, particularly musicians. You know, it's one thing to be an artist and to be expressive and to be in your craft. But there's the other side of this that says I have to pay my rent. I've got bills to pay. How do I eat? Like how do I survive and do this work and make a living? And when you're teaching, does that ever come up in conversations
It
in
does.
teaching?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you know, like especially at the collegiate level, like students who are trying to themselves build a career in music, they'll, you know, ask us for advice or you know, what did we do when we were a little bit younger? Like how did we create it, build a career, and pay our bills and our rent and all of those sorts of things, like you're saying. So it does come up. People ask us, but there's no handbook that you can buy on Amazon for how to be in a percussion quartet, or how to build a career as a percussionist. A little bit you have to kind of figure it out as you go, which is kind of the spirit of being a percussionist anyway. We kind of figure things out as we go. So for us, we decided years ago that we were going to be a not-for-profit.
Mm.
And being a not-for-profit, we don't rely only on sort of concert fees to build our budget and to make our living. We're able to apply to grant funding, both sort of kind of foundation grant money and also government grant money. We solicit donations, we have fundraising campaigns and things like that. And we also, obviously, we're out there and we're performing, so that revenue streams come in from all these different places, and it helps to be able to make what we do possible on a sort of financial level. But that's one way of doing it. It's certainly, I would say, probably not the only way, but it's sort of the way that we have organized ourselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, does your touring, Victor, take you around the world?
It does, yeah, yeah. We're very lucky to get to travel around the world. I'll mostly in the U.S., I would say, but we do get to go out there overseas sometimes. A few months ago, we were actually in Beijing, and we were performing a piece called Seven Pillars. I mentioned earlier, a piece by Andy Kehoe. We were out there performing that in Beijing. So we do sometimes get to tour around outside of the U.S. And this album coming out here in a little bit, we're excited because when a new album featuring music by a composer gets out there, it just makes it more possible for us to share music by Chris Cerrone, for example, with concert presenters who are overseas, concert presenters also who are in the US. But an album really allows us, it's a great resource for us to get to share with people and make those opportunities happen.
So Victor, does streaming outlets help you get your music out there? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is your music on Spotify? Is it on YouTube? Is it on those? Like, how do people find you if they're not familiar with, if they're interested in hearing more about, what it is that you all do?
Yeah, yeah. We are on Spotify. We're on all the streaming platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, everywhere you can get your streaming music, you could find us. So yeah, that does. We're on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and you can also listen to the music there as well. So it does help. I guess we think of it in a way as sort of like an audio business card.
Okay.
We can link to it. Certainly, it's very easy these days, as we know, to stream music online. So I think we see that as a benefit for us. It just allows us to share our music with more people. If it's more accessible to people, then that's great, because like I said earlier, our mission is to grow this music, to share this music with as many people as we can. So streaming it online allows that to be a little bit easier for people.
I was going to ask you, and since you said that's a wonderful segue for me. I know we're in this moment, and you have this new album that you're focused on, but into the future, are you thinking about the next album, the next, iteration of this sound, this music, this type? Do you think about that, or how far in advance are you thinking?
Very far. Very far. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes too far. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we have, I think we have our probably one of the next albums that we're going to put out is already recorded. So we definitely try to plan very as meticulously as we can, sort of like the next 5 years of records that we're going to put out. I mean, sometimes it's planned and sometimes it's not. Sometimes a collaborator will come to us, somebody that we've worked with for a long time, and been like, I have this opportunity to put this album out featuring the music that we have worked on together. Do you want to do it? And it's why would we not want to do that? So we always are excited about getting involved in those new recording projects. I'd say it's become more of a it's been more a part of what we do in the last 5 years than I ever thought it would be. To be honest, it's so awesome, but it's a lot of I guess work, to put these records together. We want them to sound at the level that we believe in. We want it to sound at the level that we hold ourselves when we play live concerts. And we also want to feature as many of the different artists and composers that we work with as possible. So yeah, we do have the next couple albums in our minds that are coming out soon. For now, we'll focus on Chris Cerrone because that's the one that we have coming out now. And Chris is a longtime friend and collaborator of ours, whose music we absolutely adore. So we're super excited that it's coming out.
Mm. So I always ask musician friends, guests, who else do you listen to? Like, do you listen to music outside of your genre of what you play? Are you listening to Beyonce? Are you listening to Taylor Swift? Are you listening to, Guns N' Roses? Like, who are you listening to?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a percussionist, I was saying, I think, our music exists, our instrument exists in a lot of different genres. So it's pretty natural for us, I think, to gravitate towards all kinds of different music, and different genres. So yeah, I do listen to a lot of different music. Trying to think, I guess the Super Bowl just happened, and Kendrick Lamar was on the halftime show, and I knew a little bit of Kendrick's music, but I think now it's sort of like piqued my curiosity. I've been having it on and listening to more, and just sort of like diving into some of the lyrics and things like that. And it's really pretty interesting. But that's just one other artist. I mean, I love jazz. I love some different pop artists and things like that. And then, also listen to classical music. So it really runs the gamut, when we're listening to music outside of just performing it.
Okay. All right. So Victor and the Sandbox Ensemble will be at the Swartzum Center in the Well. Have you
That's
have you
right.
been you've been over there? Have you been back since they tricked out that whole space?
I haven't been back. I've been there before, but I haven't been back since.
It's a very swanky space, I must say.
I
And
can't wait.
it's
I'm very
got
excited.
it's got a speakeasy vibe, the whole thing, the upstairs to the dome and all
Right.
the spaces where you can have performances. But the Well is a very cool space, I
That's
must
awesome.
say. So I think you'll dig it.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it.
I think you'll dig. Well, thank you for your time this morning. Enjoy Baltimore. Is it snowing there? Is it snowing? Is there snow on the ground?
It's not snowing yet, but it is supposed to in a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you travel safely,
Thank you
and
so much.
I look forward to you being back in New Haven. Make sure you get some good pizza because I'm sure you miss it.
Oh, I miss it so much. We will be getting some pizza. Yes.
So make sure you do that while you're here. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure talking to you as well. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was really fun.
Good. Thank you. Take good
Awesome.
care and
Thanks.
travel safely.
Yeah, take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Thanks, Harry. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take a break, and then I'll be back at 10:15, and we'll talk a little bit more about music, the Super Bowl, neo Nazis on State Street. That's the craziest thing. And I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, Harry. I'm gonna jump right off.